When you want to save money, check out The General. They're a quality car insurance company with great low rates, and they've been saving people money for nearly 60 years. Plus, they're super flexible. You can choose when and how you want to pay, whether it's cash, card, or check. So to get quality coverage at prices you can afford, call 1-800-GENERAL or visit thegeneral.com. The General Auto Insurance Services Incorporated, an insurance agency, Nashville, Tennessee. Some restrictions apply.
BooBaes.
Wahoo!
Hi.
And hello and welcome
to
BooBaes.
to BooBaes.
We are your host. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And we're here to talk about some fun.
Yes.
Or funny, fun.
Yeah. Pure camp.
Pure camp.
Nothing but camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I love saying the word camp. And I was so excited when I watched this movie.
Because you were like, I get to say
the
camp.
word camp. Look what I'm holding.
That's
like a serial
scary.
killer.
What? Is that like a nail file?
It's a nail filer. I had time to nail file my nails a little bit.
Nice.
It's cute.
I need to get me one of those to because whenever my nails get really long, I scrub underneath my nails.
Yeah.
In the shower and stuff. But
Cute.
whenever I have my acrylics on and they get longer, sometimes I feel like gunk just gets in there and I need to scrape it all out with the middle one.
By all means.
Is that going to freak you out?
No, not at all.
That's my nail gunk.
I don't care.
We're going to
Share your nail gunk with
Share
me.
nail
I'm
gunk.
offended that you don't want to share your nail gunk with me.
I do. I just didn't know if that was going to be weird to you.
No, not at all. I'm the one that brought the things. I was going to be
How
doing
fun.
this. Yeah. And look, because I stopped biting my nose.
Good job. I'm
Nice.
proud of you.
So we're talking about
Jack Frost.
Jack Frost, 1997 Jack Frost, not to get confused with the 1998 Jack Frost.
Family movie
Michael
Jack Frost.
Keaton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also like kind of, I mean, it's kind of, have you watched that one?
I've seen it, but it's been ages that I don't remember most of it.
Yeah.
I just remember like little pieces of it. But I do know like he was a musician or something, and then he died, and then he gets like a second chance with his son. It's like a day. He only gets like a few hours, like Frosty the Snowman.
As a snowman, which is like still pretty dark.
Yeah. It's very dark. Yeah, it's
about it.
morbid.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
Do you want me to just sit around and be morbid?
Yeah. Oh my God. The way that none of that family was like mournful at all.
No, or realistic.
I was like, yeah, we're not giving grieving
This movie
parents.
was literally like pun after pun after pun after silly line after silly line after silly line.
May I say, not as well placed as Thanksgiving.
There were some that I was just like, it was a bit overkill.
Yeah.
You know, there's sometimes maybe a less is more approach, but they were really going ham with it.
Thanksgiving had a lot too, but I felt like they were well done.
They would tie in. Some of these I thought were really fun. Were
oh
really
no, yeah,
funny.
there were some like I'm the world's angriest snow cone.
Looks like Christmas came early this year.
Yeah. And not Frosty.
Well, it ain't Frosty, bitch, or something like that. But yeah, it sure ain't Frosty.
Sure ain't Frosty.
So yeah, we start this movie. Let's just get into it with kind of an opening monologue. That was wow.
Okay, so I watched this on Amazon Prime.
Okay,
because that's where it was available.
I watched it on Peacock.
Peacock. Yes, I did see it was also on there, and like Tubi.
And Tubi, but Tubi has not to shame Tubi. Tubi has commercials.
I see.
But it's free.
I don't
but
know
it is
the
free.
difference. That's nice. Yeah, thankfully this was included in the Amazon.
Cool.
But it said fantasy, horror, frightening, joyous.
Because it's Christmas.
Just frightening and joyous being right
together,
next to each other in the description.
Right?
Yeah, I was like, what? It made me laugh. Also, it got a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I saw that. Yeah.
So that's fun. That's really low.
That means that it's going to be really funny.
Is there a movie that's gotten like a 1% on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm sure.
A 0% just doesn't exist.
We could probably Google it. I'm sure they have like a whole category.
Directed by, and then it's a black screen.
That would be a really sad list to fall on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the one.
Your movie sucks so bad.
It got, yeah. But wouldn't a 0 mean like nobody watched it though? Because like people still have to watch it to give it a rating. Like it still has to have like a, even if it's a like horrible rating.
It just doesn't exist.
Because the more tomatoes it gets, the better it is, right?
The more tomatoes it gets, the gooder it is.
Yeah, because see, that always confused me. And I'm still like, I know that that's what I just said is right, but still sometimes my brain wants to fall back onto the like, but because like, you know, olden days, like a play, like tomatoes are bad. You throw tomatoes, like boo, tomato, boo. So it's just like, that's what I always thought tomatoes were bad.
Like the tomato meter, typically it has like a splat. Like it's like a
the splats, the green ones
tomato.
are the bad one, right?
Oh, that's sad because fried green tomatoes are real yummy.
I've never had a fried green tomato. That sounds good. I'm hungry.
Let's go get you some fried green tomatoes.
Okay. So we start with this like opening monologue-ish or whatever it is. It's between Uncle Henry and I guess his niece. And I was like, is this the voice of like Louise from Bob's Burgers almost? Like it's such a like cartoony, like
definitely
little girl voice.
A normal little girl
No,
voice.
not at all.
It sounded like a grown man doing a little girl's voice.
Exactly. But better, and creepier.
I don't know. Yours is good.
And so
it's pretty spot on.
we have them kind of basically. She's asking him for a Christmas story, and he's like, "Well, let me tell you this story." And it's about Jack Frost, who was this, insane serial killer who would go around and kill people and eat people, essentially, right? He's a cannibal, and
he'd do all sorts of things.
Yeah, there was a lot. He was
like sticks and stones will break their bones, and then he also does iron rods or something.
Because he
steps on their heads till the brains got all runny.
The like all the things that you would say about Christmas, you know, yeah. The way that they're not coming to my mind right now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, there was a bunch of clever little tie-ins and stuff that they were doing.
It's like if you were doing like 12 knives in his neck, like
a nice little parody on the 12 Days of Christmas.
Yeah. So that's what it was very much giving. And we learned a lot of things about Jack Frost.
It does a good job of setting the story for you, so that way you get all the backstory.
It's really graphic.
Just only while you're getting the credits and stuff and the title on the cute little Christmas tree.
On the Christmas tree, and then like, credits are in the ornaments, which is really cute, along with the title. Yeah.
And then so by the time the film actually starts, you already know the whole story.
Yeah.
Because it was just given to us. And then it talks about,
because we learned about how like what he was doing. He was a drifter. He would go from town to town. He was really good and really smart at not getting caught until he was at a spot for too long, and he was working at a bakery, and like pieces of people started getting
Puddle's pecan pies.
And the pecan pies, were popping up. So they were able to trace him back to him.
Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. And then, very much so. And then in the meat pies. And then
Demon Baba.
We would have basically they said like they tracked him down, but they didn't even really track him down. We just have the sheriff like stumbling upon him in the
looked
woods,
like he was just like
pissing on the side of the road.
And then which was, I was like, oh, okay, so he just got really lucky, because I mean, I guess maybe he could have been on the run though.
Unlucky, I would say.
Yeah. And but like at the end of the little story, Uncle Henry saying, his story ends at midnight tonight because he's being transferred to be executed. And as we know from Halloween and stuff.
Oh yeah, anytime
you can't have you can't have a known serial killer being transferred somewhere to be executed
via
and
vehicle,
them not get out.
Yeah.
But the guy, he just kind of stumbled upon him and then put him in jail. He didn't even. It was very confusing.
Sheriff Tim. Yeah. He
also, I was confused how they were like all sheriffs.
Yeah.
Isn't there like one and then the rest are
deputies?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
All had sheriff jackets on.
They did. I don't know. But there are multiple sheriffs, but
yeah, I don't know how it works.
Actually, don't quote me on that. I don't know. But yeah, we have all them sheriffs.
How do cops work?
And they're, essentially he gets sentenced, he gets tried for the murder, and he gets sentenced to the death penalty. And so he's sentenced to die. So we come out of all of that. And after it shows like a montage of him going through the court system. He's like screaming at what's his face the whole time. Like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to come after you. I'm going to kill your whole town, kill your family. And he's saying that to the sheriff. So it's basically just like a vengeance, you know? And so, we then cut to after all of that happening, the execution bus, the driver's driving the bus.
Yeah.
And they're, of course, taking what's his face to go get executed. And it's pretty cheesy because they're like just talking to each other. And then they're like deep fried jack serve at midnight.
Yeah.
And
it's terribly snowy conditions.
Oh, yeah.
The roads are very poorly.
There's like a blizzard happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's two guys looking out of basically one little windshield wiper. And I was like, I don't
No
know
seatbelts.
what y'all huddling that close together is really going to do. And then, of course, there's someone in the back watching Jack.
Another death row inmate, I guess.
I think he was...
Or just a free man, because he was, he bring the smoke. You're right.
I think he was just back there to make sure that Jack didn't pull any funny business.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
His name was Harv. I'm assuming short for Harvey.
Gotcha.
I don't know. But he lights up and Jack's like, can I get a smoke? Except for not like that. But
Jack's voice the whole time.
He's got some fucking crazy eyes.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
Ooh. I was like, oh.
He gives psycho killer.
Psycho.
He's done some shit.
He had a bunch of scars on his face too.
Yeah.
So thankfully some people fought back, I guess.
He almost looked like you know that dude from that kid show, and they're like, she has like a pink bob wig, and then there's like a purple guy and he's really bad. He's like the villain.
Oh, like the one that does splits?
Yes, that's what his face gave me.
I don't know what it's called.
But it's like Funky Town or something like that.
Town.
Or Playtown. I don't remember.
Pink girl who does splits. Let me Google that. Pink girl who does the splits.
He gave me very those vibes. And so
this is gonna pull up some weird.
I'm pretty sure it's. Oh no.
I don't need images. What is it?
It's Crazy Town. It's called Crazy Town. It's called Crazy Town. I was like, I know it's something
Crazy Town.
I'm pretty sure that's it. But the dude looks like the purple guy because he had like a really strong chin and like a menacing face.
Characters.
But yeah.
Robbie Rotten.
Let me see it. Yes, literally just like that. He looked just like that.
What if it is the same person?
And so
Stefan Carl Stephenson.
That is his name. Wow.
Stefan Carl Stephenson.
That would be the dude who plays Robbie Rotten. And so why was I watching Crazy Town? That show was out when I was literally like at high school. And so
is it Lazy Town?
Lazy Town. That's what it is. Because all the people were lazy and she would try to get people to do stuff. And he would want to make the people lazy or something like that. I don't remember.
This
I just
feels
remember it
like
would come
a
on.
very
fever dream. Fever
way to
dream.
get America up and moving.
Yeah.
TV show.
It was a kid show. Yeah, very much.
Love it.
But you know what? I also used to fuck with the Doodle Bops.
Doodle Bops. I've heard that one.
Look them up. Oh my God.
Scott MacDonald is who played Jack.
Okay, gotcha. So not the same guy. Not Stefan Stephenson.
He played in Jack Frost 2. Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman.
And so basically they're driving. We said that they're really piss poor conditions. It's so freaking snowy out there. And so they're at the same time, there's another van that's coming from the other side of the highway, and it's a GCC van. And it's like a chemicals company.
Yeah,
biochemical genetic company van, and the dude is like pouring soup from like a thermos or something while he's
confused.
driving.
I was like, boy, this is like
Not
you
the
are
time.
carrying radioactive, not radioactive, but you know, some
biochemical
very,
hazard.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like fragile substances that don't need to just get out.
Yeah.
And then you're going to pour your fucking soup or hot cocoa like while you're driving on these terrible conditions. Oh my God. That would be me.
And so I was literally, I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like pouring the soup. And so as soon as he's doing that, of course, we have them colliding and they're like, oh my God. And then whatever, Jack Frost was like, oh yeah. Like the, what's it called? The Kool-Aid man when he goes through a wall. There was kind of there was a few times when like the fourth wall would be broken.
Yeah, it felt like it, definitely. As they crashed.
Hilarious.
I swear I heard SpongeBob screaming.
Seriously?
At the end. Or like his little like laugh kind of thing.
Like whenever he yeeted out the back of the van.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's exactly when it happened. Yeah.
I thought I was like, was that SpongeBob?
Yes, he just like literally, it's so comical the way they were just rolling the camera around just to make it look like it was rolling, and then he just like flies out the back of the truck van thing. And so I'm like, how is this dude alive? Because we have one of the drivers still alive, and
I know, yeah.
he pops out of the truck van thing, and that's whenever we see that Jack is alive, because he's like, looks like deep fried Jack is off the menu tonight. Mm-hmm. And so that's whenever he's about to harm somehow the driver, and then we see that the whole time the
acidic solution was spilling,
and
which is always a good sign.
Yeah, and the what is it? The truck blew up somehow because something was getting hot or something.
Yeah, something was happening. The pressure or something in there was getting way off the charts, and so then it basically just
blew the door off of the thing, and then like all the acid
out.
just started pouring out everywhere.
And of course, it's aimed directly at
Jack Frost,
Jack,
who's like, this is gonna hurt.
Yeah.
And so then he just starts like getting burned live with the acid. It's pretty cool. I thought the practical effects were like, for a kind of movie, I guess. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how he pulled down on his face and got the like blood kind of coming down, and then I didn't expect him to like completely
disintegrate. Yeah. He just kept getting more and more and more, like to the skeleton, and then back to where it was nothing, just blood in the snow, and then it like absorbs into the snow. Yeah,
blood.
Literally.
It was like a little stick figure of blood, and then it was like bloop, gone. But then we get the
DNA sequence,
DNA or something, turning
very
into like
Osmosis Jones
snowflakes. Yeah, it was a nice little animated sequence. Mm-hmm. It was like 2 seconds long.
For 2 seconds, literally. I was like, wow, this gives Bill Nye the Science Guy like transition almost in a way.
Yeah.
And then we have
I like how it came to life. And like his body like kind of came back in the snow. It looked like just like a white blanket
at first. Yeah.
Over the ground, and someone was just wiggling under it.
Oh my God. That's how they did it. I couldn't imagine they had like a huge budget for this.
No. Yeah.
We could probably look that up. But he ends up coming back to life, and we have the driver like freaking out, and he starts to like aim shots at the freaking Jack Frost the snowman. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, that's somehow what happens? He attacks him, doesn't he? Something happens and he runs off. Yeah,
we don't really see. We just kind of see him like lunge.
Right. Yeah.
And then, it ends with
the gunshot going off.
Shooting him. And then we go to Sheriff, Sam.
Mm-hmm. It pans to the couple. That's right. I'm like, why don't I remember? Because it cuts off. It goes to the couple, and they're in the car.
And this is where we get him arresting Jack Frost and stuff.
Oh, you're right. My bad. From the flashback.
Yeah. And then where he's threatening to kill his whole family and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like he's like driving by, and his mom, his wife is like, you don't have to have any more nightmares about Jack Frost. And
literally the accident.
They're driving past it. Yeah. And it's like, and he's asking, he's like, hey, what's going on here? And I don't understand why he didn't, whenever the officer just kind of like, keep it moving, buddy. This is federal business.
No, my God. I thought that was hilarious. Because like, this is a federal matter. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. And I don't understand why he didn't like flash his ID
badge, because it's sheriff. Yeah.
That's what it's called.
I mean, granted, they're like sheriffs are just state, but it's still like it's his jurisdiction.
But I'm assuming, that he was arrested. Well, I guess if that sheriff found him, but he never actually completed any crimes in that county,
mm-hmm.
Then he must have been transferred to another county or something.
Maybe.
But I feel like if that was his vehicle of like transporters and stuff, and if you're the sheriff, maybe I feel like you're obliged to know. And so anyways, he's just like, okay, bye. And so then that's whenever we have then the FBI agent interviewing the driver. Mm-hmm.
And he was just, basically saying, it was a snowman, right? Yeah, he's babbling about it.
It seems like he's just, babbling nonsense. Mm-hmm. And no one's really taking him seriously. No,
and that's whenever he's like, I think me and you need to take a midnight stroll.
Yeah.
And he like does this weird smile and like offers him his hand.
Yeah,
I didn't know if he thought like he was trying to like hook up with him or something or what.
Or if he was just so completely out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was really weird.
It was weird.
And then I was also like, why are you going to go take a stroll with a potential killer on the loose? But okay.
Yeah. They didn't really elaborate on it either. So it just didn't make sense. Because then it just cuts off from them as well.
And we're back with the little family.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid is making some god awful concoction.
It looks like fucking sludge.
It was nasty.
Yeah. Because
I thought it was supposed to be hot chocolate because it looked like
that's what I
marshmallows
thought
in it
as well.
But it was just like completely thick and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But
apparently
I guess it was oats.
Yeah. Yeah, because and before that he's like all cheesy because he's like, Dad, who's Jack Frost? And Dad's like, you know, because they're talking about him on the radio, and he's just like, oh, you don't have to worry about him. And he's like, my dad's a hero. It's just so cheesy.
Yeah, I was like, ew, this is gross. And the wife's like, you are a hero. You're our hero. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay.
And
we can stop.
And he's we learned that the sheriff is going to work, and it looks like the mom was kind of hesitant about him like leaving off to work, maybe because I guess because
they're hearing while it starts, they're playing the news cast of all the stuff that has just happened with Jack Frost and him being dead.
Yeah,
quote unquote,
but not really dead.
Yeah. And then he comes in, he's like, oh yeah, I heard it on the news all morning, blah, 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 and stuff. And so, yeah, I think she's a little hesitant about that. But then, what's his face? Little boy.
I don't.
Asks if he can, he's like, can I build a snowman and stuff? And
do you want to build a snowman?
Come on, let's go and play.
And then he's also, the dad's reminding them that the tree trimming is at 5. That they're supposed to attend. And so then it cuts to the sheriff going out to the town and talking to the townspeople.
Yes.
And
they're at the snowman competition.
We see Jake building
I have
his snowman
name in here somewhere.
Oh,
sorry,
the kid?
The little boy.
No, you're good. Jake is building a snowman, which is one of the townsmen, and with his family, he's building one, but he doesn't want, with his daughter Jill, but he doesn't want anybody to see, so he's got a big old trash bag over it.
Yeah.
And then we have his wife Sally.
She's fucking weird.
She's weird. She's like, I've always wanted to be the angel at the top of a tree.
Yeah, and he's just asking her to like, hey, will you hold this stencil?
Yeah.
And then she just starts going on about that, and he's like, okay, but can you hold this?
Yeah. And then we have we meet Billy,
which is also his kid. I was like, is it only members of this dude's family
literally
who gets to compete in this snowman contest?
Well, there's Tommy,
that's true.
Yeah, because we do see Tommy, and he is building a woman, a snow woman.
Yeah,
a snow gal, because it has boobs, BooBaes.
That's right. It does. This all of this snow looked like it was made with like coconut flakes, like shredded coconut.
It was definitely fake for sure. Yeah.
It looked like shredded coconut, especially on his snowman.
Oh yeah.
Or
snow
makes
woman.
Sense.
Yeah. It looked like they just got like styrofoam balls and like sculpted them together.
Yeah. And then coated them in coconut.
That makes
shreds.
Sense. And cocaine. Coconuts and cocaine.
And this is where we get our first mention of the, hey, do you know what makes a difference? What
makes the difference between a snowman and a snow woman?
And he's like, snowballs.
I actually kind of thought it was funny.
It was funny.
I chuckled.
It was. But that's like our JonBenet Ramsey joke.
Yeah, it's going to come back.
Thanksgiving that makes 3 appearances.
Yeah, it's going to come back a few times.
With the last one being slightly different.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't right, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.
And so after that snowball joke, we have them he's going to the sheriff's office, and this is when we get to meet and he throws away the oats, and that's whenever he hears his son, and he's like, "But Dad, I made those for you with love."
I was like, this man's going crazy.
Yeah.
Also, we got the second snowman joke whenever he went to, I just called him Salt Guy. I think his name's Paul.
Paul, yeah.
Paul's like contractor
he did
store.
also tell him that, yeah.
What is that called? Like a feed store or something that just kind of has everything?
Mm-hmm. Like for a small town, you know.
Supply store, yeah. And he goes there, and then because it was his son, Billy.
Yeah. No, his son is Tommy. Mm-hmm.
Tommy
that told him the joke.
Is Paul's Saltman's kid.
Yeah.
And Paul also tries to tell the sheriff
the
that
same joke.
And then so that was our second mention of it. But then he just literally walks off in the middle of him
before
talking.
He can even tell the
He's like,
punchline.
I've heard it. And then just walks off. But yes, then he gets there, throws away the killer oats. And I mean, thank God, I guess, that he kept them, huh?
Yeah, that's true.
They do help save the day.
It came in handy later on.
I
know. Whenever he said that,
I wanted to keep you warm. So I put antifreeze.
It was so stupid.
Oh my God.
So stupid. I gagged.
This little kid was almost the murderer.
Out loud.
Almost poisoned his whole family. Thank God.
He put antifreeze in the fucking notes.
This father wasn't like, oh, I'll try it.
Yeah, just to like satisfy her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand how also maybe they didn't smell the antifreeze cooking on the stove.
I don't know. It sounds like it would probably smell like chemicals.
Yeah.
Maybe
not. A little bit of a scent.
Maybe not.
I don't come into contact with antifreeze.
I don't either. Actually, I don't know if it has a scent at all.
I just know that I put it in my car.
And so we have him, then we get to meet my favorite character, I believe, throughout the entire movie, and that is Marla.
Marla is a whole fucking mood.
I love Marla. I fuck with Marla.
She was the best.
She was my favorite character.
Whenever he walks in, she's just sitting there blow drying her hair. Yeah. And he's like saying, what is going on? Like, hello, how's your day? Blah, blah, blah. Did somebody die?
Somebody died.
She holds up a little like
a message.
A receipt.
Yeah.
Or
it did look like a receipt. Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it said, to Sam from Marla, somebody died.
So dumb.
And then we flash to Old Man
Harold or
something.
Herkin.
I just put Old Man.
Old Man Withers.
Frozen in his rocking chair.
Yeah, literally with his head like all the way
completely
back.
Like, it looked like his head was just gone.
Yeah.
Because of how well it was bent back.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is crazy.
It looked cool.
Not like cut or decapitated or snapped.
No.
Just like really bent.
Yeah.
Bent neck lady.
He had some stretchy skin.
Mm-hmm. And so we have the sheriffs. I guess they're all sheriffs looking at the body and they're kind of discussing it. One of them has his fucking foot on the rocker. And that's why I was rocking the whole time.
The whole time I was sitting there going, how in the world
is it still rocking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then whenever he's like, get your foot off the chair, I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense.
And so he's trying to make up a plan because he's like, okay, y'all are gonna like get the doctor. Don't tell nobody. We don't need the town finding out about this. And then he's like, I'm gonna go make sure some things are the way they're supposed to be. And so he goes and he gets on his radio and he tries to call. I guess it's through the radio, right?
Which I
don't know how that even happens.
I was so confused whenever he was like, get the FBI on the phone to Marla. And whenever she like transferred him, I was like, okay, I guess you can just call it the FBI. Yeah. So that's cool. But then, whenever he ended the call though, and he was on his radio, I was like, what?
I was like, that was really weird.
That was
I don't think that's how it works.
And I feel like he went there because they were describing like the manner of the murder. And they were saying there's no footprints, there's no tire prints, there's no blood, there's no nothing.
Yeah.
And so that's when he was like, okay, this is pretty weird.
Yeah.
And then he gets on whenever he ends the call, he says, on the walkie, oh, it's over.
And then the other dude said it's starting.
It started.
Oh my God. It's hilarious.
It's a nice government experiment gone wrong. We find out.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're like, oh my God, they fucking know about this. Yeah. And they're trying to cover it up,
Stone,
of course.
I don't know if we know his name is Stone yet, but Stone was saying basically like, I hadn't even got to test it on a
real human being, let alone, or a specimen.
An amoeba.
Yeah, there you go.
Said, to see how like it would. Oh my goodness, I forgot I put eyebrow wax on today, and I'm rubbing my eyebrows.
Oh, they look fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I thought I was like getting brown all over my face.
Oh, no.
Okay, yay. Anyways, sorry.
It's
He was basically saying like, this was my bad. And then it wasn't supposed to happen this way.
Yeah. And then we cut to Tim's wife, the sheriff's wife. I can't remember her name. Kathy?
Sally. No.
Sally is the angel lady, no?
Oh, right. That's right. That is correct.
I think her name's Kathy. Maybe not, but we're going to say the sheriff's wife. And we're back at their place. And she's with the little boy. And that's whenever we see that she's coming inside. She's coming home from the grocery store because she has groceries. Mm-hmm. And she's about to walk inside and she hears kind of like a little she hears a noise.
Yeah, it's like this weird grinding.
Yeah.
Kind of happens.
Yeah. And I believe it's like the snowman moving up.
Yes, I think it is.
Yeah, because then she sees the fucking snowman and he's huge. And then she goes inside and the little dumb boy, he's so dumb. Oh my gosh. He's like, I made a special.
Would lose my shit.
That's what I was about to say. I would beat his ass.
If I walked in and my kitchen was destroyed in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
I was honestly also surprised at how well those gingerbread cookies turned out, considering what his oats looked like that morning.
Yeah, they probably weren't great. They probably had cocaine and coconut flakes.
It's like when I was trying to be really sweet as a child and make my mom breakfast in bed.
Yeah.
But I didn't know the difference between instant coffee and ground coffee.
Oh.
And I was making these like cappuccino muffins and I put a bunch of ground coffee into it.
Oh no.
And yeah, they were pretty bad tasting. They looked good, but they were not good.
Edible.
Yes.
Yeah. You were supposed to put instant coffee in it.
Yes, that would dissolve.
Yeah.
And not just be a little muffin packed with coffee grounds.
Oh, no. Did your mom like take a full bite of that? Someone?
She said, I think she did take a bite of it. And then she was like, what did you put in this? Antifreeze. But no, actually, someone did like them. If someone who like smokes a lot and really likes coffee or something. So they were just like, I love this coffee ground muffin.
Oh, that's so gross.
They asked me until like I was an adult. They were like, will you ever make those muffins again? And I said, I don't even know how
that even happened.
I was 7 years old.
That's funny.
I have no clue.
Well, anyways, this kid is being dumb. And she's like, well, I saw you built that snowman outside. And he's like, I didn't build a snowman.
I didn't build a snowman. So that would have been like, what?
Red flag.
She said, oh, well, someone helped you finish it.
Yeah, exactly. And so she sends him outside. He runs off with little carrots and he goes outside. And then we have the guys, like all the townsmen at the office. Mm-hmm. And they are, somehow they found out about how it happened, the murder. Man. Mm-hmm. And
they're sitting there yelling at the sheriff. And honestly, I'm sorry, what is that going to do?
Yeah,
You're not helping. And thankfully, unlike in Halloween Kills, or was it that one? When Evil Dies Tonight?
Dies Tonight, yeah.
It was that one, right?
Yeah.
Whenever the sheriff is not doing anything to calm down the rioting people.
Yeah.
This guy says, we don't need
a turkey shootout or what?
We don't need a bunch of y'all sitting here just like this little militia is not going to do anything.
Yeah. You need to be at home with your families.
That's when Paul Saltman says
20% off
ammo.
Yes. It's 20% off for the special occasion. He's going to get a sale.
Yeah.
And that's whenever he's like, man, this is going to turn into a turkey shootout. And then Marla is like, well, it's a lot faster than a trial.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or a jury, quicker than a jury.
And then Joe, I think it was Joe, who was sitting there and he was basically saying, maybe it wasn't Joe, but he said like, are we ready to go? And she's like, do I look ready? And he was like, yes, you sure do. Yeah. And then she said, the power to clouds men's mind is a responsibility I take very seriously. Yeah. And I was like, yes,
I fucks Marla. With her. She's fun. She was such a good character. And so she was so sassy.
She was.
And so we have the kid Billy. No, not Billy. What's his name first?
Ryan.
Ryan is finishing the snowman outside.
And I'm sorry. Whenever I was watching
kept sticking his fingers in the mouth.
But is he really using a puppet, like snowman puppet as a reference?
He is, yes.
For a snowman face?
Yeah. He's a dumbass little kid.
He's so dumb.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that was all on purpose.
Has drawn a snowman.
Yeah.
You don't have to think hard about how to put snowman eyeballs.
And it's a face. Like it's your
Just
face. It's a face, like 2 eyes, a nose, and a smile.
Yep.
And so he's doing that. He's got his hands all in the mouth of the snowman, and like it's growing like little sharp teeth you can see, but somehow he doesn't cut himself. Yeah. And then at this point, we have some teens come up with Billy, him and his friends, and he's telling them like, "Don't you see that this is like whatever? They're trying to race their little sleds,
diamond sled route or something."
Yeah.
He's like, "This is my dad's yard."
Front yard, yeah. And then he's just like, "Well, do I need to like kick your stomach into your mouth again or something like that?"
I don't know.
He's being very bully.
He was being very
bully vibes.
Very bad bully.
And so,
then he says, "Get your stupid snowman out of the way," or something. And I was like, "Oh,
yeah, Frosty ain't gonna like that."
Because they knocked his head off too, didn't they? They knocked off Jack's head, and then
Billy does, yes.
He says something else, but then the snowman pop knocks him over,
and so he ends up falling just in time for the sled to like knock his head right off, clean right off,
decapitates it, and then it goes flying.
His fucking head.
Whee!
At least it wasn't like that one where that dude's head popped off and that little girl was just holding it like. Right. What was that? Was that Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving had the guy's head pop off.
That's right. Yeah, that's what it was.
And it was the dad's head.
That's right.
It was
the dad's head, and then it was like the most fake looking thing.
The most fakest of
fake
bloods.
Fake blood spurts.
I loved it.
Yes.
But then I loved the little kid yelling, "Holy moly, Ryan killed Billy."
Yeah.
I loved it.
And
that was how I got Ryan's name. I was just calling him Kid.
Gotcha.
Before this.
I was just calling us the dumb little kid, yeah.
This dumb little bitch. But then we get the angry parents showing up.
Yeah.
Jake
and Sally.
Yeah. Jake has got some serious fucking anger issues.
Oh, yeah. The whole movie.
He is a manipulative, abusive asshole, I feel like. Because he's just sitting there yelling at his wife. And then he turns around to the sheriff and it was like, "It was your kid. That kid is touched by the devil."
He's been touched by the devil. Not an angel, by the devil. Yes, it's hilarious. And so he's obviously, he's pretty pissed because his kid, was just killed. But he's also just like a douchebag because he's like that the whole movie. He's,
Yeah.
And so we have him just trying to basically accuse Ryan of murdering him. But obviously the sheriff is like, he couldn't have done it. He's, like 2 feet shorter. There couldn't have been a struggle.
All the while, Ryan's just saying like, "The snowman did it.
Mm-hmm.
The snowman did it. Like the snow did it."
And who put the fucking head back on the snowman? Someone grabbed it and put it on, but we don't see who it is. It's not a frame.
And they turn it to face the house too, which is like, ugh. Yeah. Anyways, they were not giving a convincing performance of grieving parents here.
Oh no,
in the slightest.
They're not grieving.
They were just like, "Well, okay."
Well, the way he's like, "I can't talk about it tomorrow because I gotta find somewhere to bury my son."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
that's pretty much the only part.
It could have been a well-delivered line.
Yeah.
It was not.
And so then we cut to, it's like nighttime, I guess, and there's a shadow outside the window in front of Mama Sheriff. And that's whenever we have the Daddy Sheriff in the dining room, and he's Deputy Daddy, and he's reading those letters.
Except for this guy is not Daddy.
No, he's reading letters that were sent to him by freaking Jack Frost, I guess, when he was in prison.
Yeah, they're little ransom notes. Mm-hmm. Basically, I put, he kept a little love letters.
I'm gonna come for you. I'm going to come for you. Should I not say that out loud like that?
No, I love it.
And so
I would, there's some just sexual tension between Frost and Sam. That's why he's so obsessed with him.
He wanted to love him. Mm-hmm. And he said, I can't have you, no one can.
Yep. I'll kill your whole family.
Wow.
And then I'll kill you.
That's commitment. That's really sweet.
But yeah, because Homeboy kept these letters. Yeah. Like they were little mementos. And
he did.
She was
because
like, why
really
the fuck do you still
traumatized.
have this?
Which is like, I thought you got rid of those or burned those or something like that. But he didn't. She said, I thought you destroyed those.
Yeah. He had like 7. Mm-hmm. It was a nice little stack.
In a box.
Yep. And then basically though, something is moving outside.
Mm-hmm. They hear noise.
And then so obviously with the events of the day, Sam pulls his gun and is going towards the door, being like, what's going on out there?
That? Yeah.
Opens the door.
And it's freaking Paul.
It's freaking Paul.
Paul shows up in this movie a lot.
He does. And he's just trying to deliver salt at a 20% discount at that too. And
everything's 20% off.
I was like, and you're going to be rude to him?
Yeah.
I was like, the man's bringing the salt to your door at a 20% discount. And now you're just going to be like, get off my lawn.
Leave it on the front porch. And then he's like, oh, I'll give you a trash can for 20% off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a shovel and stuff like that.
I love it.
basically anything.
He's a hustler. He's trying to get his coin.
And then we flash to what's his name? Jack.
Oh, Jack.
And Sally.
Jake. His name's Jake.
Jake.
Yes. And he's in the living room. He's sitting there and she's kind of crocheting her sweater, knitting a sweater or scarf. And he's trying to he's basically being a bitch to her.
He really
because
is.
she asked she would decorate, she would put some stuff up, and he's like, you want to do that? And not even our sun isn't even 6 hours cold yet or something like that. And so he's having a hard time, I guess, and he's being
taking it out on his family.
Yeah, both Jill and the mom, because he calls her a whore.
Yeah, because Jill's trying to go out, and he was like, where are you going? Like a lady of the night, basically. And he was saying, don't you even miss your brother or something?
Yeah.
And she's
like,
I
I
loved Billy.
Yeah.
And I was like, y'all, I don't think any of y'all loved Billy the way all of y'all are going about your life.
They're grieving in their own way, Caitlin.
I guess. In the most bizarre and not believable
very toxic. And they're essentially, she's just like, I'm gonna go be with Tommy, because he's like, what, is our grieving not good enough for you?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's so mad. And so that's whenever he ends up, after she leaves, he goes outside because he wants to have a little smoke sesh, I guess, with his tobacco pipe. And at that point we see that he hears a noise. He hears Jack Frost talking to him. And because he's like, do you mind a smoke or something like that?
Yeah, it's basically the same thing
that he said to the dude earlier.
Yeah, that he asked to Harvey whenever he was alive, saying, you mind sparing a smoke or something. And then, of course, homeboy's like, where's that coming from?
Yeah, he doesn't believe that and the snowman's right in front of him, but he doesn't obviously assume that it's the snowman.
Yeah, and of course he sat down right in front of an axe too, which I was like, okay, well, there's our murder weapon, so that's good.
I was like, that's gonna come back to kill him.
Yep. And then whenever he gets the axe out of it, and Jack's like, that's right, boy, good job, boy. Yeah. Get it out, put some back into it.
Oh my god,
that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then whenever he gets it, I was like, is he even looking at the snowman? Because he was responding. And then I was like, oh, no, he's not. He has no clue it's the snowman.
And he starts walking around him and he's like, all right, whoever's out there, come out, you sick freak. And then he ends up walking back to where his back is behind the snowman. And then Jack takes the axe from him and he turns around and he finally realizes that it's the snowman.
And he's like, and then whenever his body hit the ground, I was shocked to see the axe handle is what he used.
I was like, cool. I thought it was going to be the other way around. Yeah. It just forcibly pushed it down his esophagus.
Yeah.
So that's gotta be pretty
and then of course we got our
pretty
nice
lethal
pun here. He says, gosh, I only axed you for a smoke.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
It was funny.
I
liked it. And then we flash inside to the mom.
Yeah.
And she is not also acting like
no
she's just humming a tune.
She's just humming. She's still she's in the festive mood. And then she also sees that there's a puddle of water on the floor, and she's like, Jake, if I've asked you once, I guess
she's like, oh, I'll just leave it alone.
And then she goes and sits down, and at that point I was already like, oh my gosh, Jack Frost can turn into a freaking puddle.
Yeah, whenever he appeared behind her chair, I was like, wait, he can get inside?
Yeah.
I was so confused. And then he looked massive.
Yeah.
Compared to her.
He's huge.
I was thinking, does he get bigger with each kill or something? Does it give him power and then he's just going to be this big snowman? That'd be kind of fun.
I think it was just inconsistency.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. That he was just super big compared to her. And then he starts wrapping the lights around her and her neck.
Nice.
It's pretty funny.
Because she had earlier said, are we going to string up the Christmas tree? String the lights and turn them on? And he was like, what? Her husband was saying, why do you want to do that? That was when he said that our son hasn't even been dead 5 hours kind of thing. But he strings her up and then he
decorates the tree with her. Oh, and not before he starts smashing her face with all the ornaments.
Yeah, he puts an ornament in her mouth, crushes her, makes her bite down on it. So you know that the inside of her mouth was destroyed.
This
and
is
then
so painful way to go.
Slams her head on the ornaments, which was really
cool. Was really cool. Yeah,
and then whenever he takes a tree star and
puts it on her head.
Yeah.
And then she gets strung up on the Christmas tree.
You know what would have been really cool though?
If he would have put her on top?
Yes. And she became the angel. And
that then she wanted to be. That's what I was thinking that it was going to happen.
In Midsummer, when they fillet the back open
yeah.
and made her have wings because she was like, I gave it wings, her snowman.
That's crazy. Yeah.
That would have been really cool.
That would have been
We
funny.
need an updated Jack Frost that's
I've been
super
thinking,
well done.
When I was watching this, I was thinking this would be a cool concept now with like, because
All
some of the way that he would move and there'd only be that like that really funky looking like arm looking thing they would use, those props. I'm like, man, if only this was like nowadays.
It looks like an oven mitt.
It did. Yeah. Big ass oven mitts. Yeah. It was really pretty.
I loved it. But yeah, this has potential to like, because some of these, like that was a pretty cool fucking kill. And I really did actually like the axe down the throat a lot. I thought that was nice. And there's a few kills in here where I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
But anyways, then of course Saltman shows up because
Paul,
wouldn't
Paul
Paul
always
come?
shows up and he sees her body and he's freaking out and he turns around and it's, Jack Frost is like there. And so he ends up getting shocked and like running off.
Runs from him. And then I think this is where Jack steals his scarf.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. And so Jack is also like, so he's got his pipe.
Yep.
And
from Jake, and he's got the scarf from Paul.
Although he hasn't successfully killed Paul.
No, Paul ran off.
But so that's where he gets his scarf and he's looking more like a complete little snowman.
Yeah.
And then we kind of flash to...
We cut to the sheriff's being at the house and finding her body.
Yeah. And they're basically like, someone's got to tell Jill her whole family is dead.
It was Joe. Joe went over because he was like, I just wanted to come and tell them I'm sorry for their son dying, condolences. And that's when he found their bodies. And so, yeah, they're talking about it. Once again, it's like, get the doc here. Let's not tell anybody about this. The other one, Joe is like, or Chris is eating like a Pez.
Yeah. And then they said like, well, what should we do? And he's like, don't you reckon we should leave her up for the 12 days of Christmas thing? And I was like, oh, no.
They're so dumb. And so that's whenever it cuts to the sheriff getting back to the office, his office, and Agent Agent Manners and Agent Stone are there.
Yes. And of course he walks in and he's not really looking. He's like taking off his jacket and he's saying like, Marla, call the FBI, get that asshole named Manners on the phone. And like, we've got some issues. And then he turns around and he's like, who are you? And he's like, I'm the asshole. I'm Agent Manners and this is Agent Stone.
Yeah.
And then whenever he comes up, Manners, and he's talking, Manners is an asshole.
Very much.
He really is an asshole.
The whole time.
I don't believe he really gave asshole in that first phone call that they had. But now he is giving major asshole. And he's basically saying like, have the MVs been moved? And
it's like motor vehicles. It's like
murder victims. And he was like, you mean Jake and Sally? And I was like, okay, no, but most of the time if you're dealing, you're not referring to them by their first names.
No.
And then he was like, okay, well, let's go to the crime scene. And
I think it was giving like, because it's such a small town, like, there's
it was. And like that one, like I understand, like with the murder victims, Jake and Sally and stuff. But then whenever he was like, okay, well, we need to get to the crime scene, and he's just kind of staring at him and he goes,
I'm sorry,
Jake and Sally's place.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, crime scene was fine.
Yeah. Well, he's being an asshole.
Yeah, he is.
And then I love that's when Marla was like, oh, you were right about earlier, asshole, or something like that.
And then whenever they get there, basically, the sheriff is saying like, is this case out of my hands? And he goes,
yeah, it was never in
your hands.
Yeah, he's being a deek. And so
Savage.
That's whenever we see the cuts to Paul still fucking running like on the road. He's still running away. Yeah, and then
good for Paul.
We have the FBI agents doing their little lab analysis on the puddle of water that's at Jake and Sally's, and he's like,
a footprint's as good as a fingerprint nowadays.
Yeah, so dumb. And then you even have what's his face like throwing up his arms, giving up the sheriff.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever we find out that, or well, we already know, but essentially we're getting explained by the scientist that's with, or Agent, what's his name? Agent Stone.
Stone, yeah.
That
he can
alter
freeze
his molecular
and unfreeze a
structure.
Will. Yeah, and so he came in through the doggy door and basically got in, and that was how he murdered
her without
Sally.
without unlocking the door because the door was locked. Yeah. And so, why would she lock her husband out? But okay.
Yeah.
And so,
well,
and
if he
her
was
daughter,
that big of an asshole, I would have
and
been
her daughter.
Wow.
And so
she probably assumed she was going to stay out.
We also have the doctor and the sheriff talking outside, and they're talking about how like the axe was like, the way that it would supposed to look is that like, you know, there would be some struggle within the throat,
some
like,
twisting to get it
and
down,
turning,
but
this was just like forced all the way down with
it
one
only had vertical lesions,
Yeah.
no like sideways from it being like
maneuvered. And so there's basically just saying
brute
that
force.
this person is really strong. It is really strong. And that's,
and he was like, what do you mean it? And then he was saying, oh, it's just a like
figure of speech. And so then we have the FBI agent Manners coming to him, and he's like, okay, well, we're gonna place the whole town on like a curfew. Y'all need to keep your people indoors,
keep
and
your townsfolk out of my line of fire.
My task force will be here by midnight.
Yeah.
And so we cut to the sheriff then getting to like a town hall kind of situation. Yeah.
Town hall of sorts. That's all I could think it was. It was
or the
definitely
tree trimming ceremony. I don't know.
they were meeting, and yeah, I think maybe they were gonna hold the snowman contest. I don't know.
Something was happening
because it said it had like the snowman contest thing on the stage whenever they opened it.
That's true.
And basically, the sheriff is like trying to get out, like, hey, we're actually under like a mandatory curfew. So could you like, you're welcome to sleep here, community style.
Yeah.
Or you need to like go home and lock your doors, kind of thing, which definitely isn't going to do you any good. But all the people were like, "Aw," about the curfew. And I was like, are y'all awing right now when multiple people are dead?
But that's how every scary
town?
movie is. People hate the curfew. Nobody likes the curfew.
It's so dumb.
And so we have fucking Paul showing up again outside because he's like knocking and beating up snowman. And
he finally ran all the way here.
Yeah.
I loved it. He was kicking every snowman's ass. He was like, it's a snowman.
Yeah.
Chopping off their heads.
And then we have them like trying to talk to him, and the FBI agent Manners comes up and is just like, you need to control him, knocks him out. And it's just like, you need to lock him up because he's a menace to society, and he's just trying to basically cover up the whole fact that there's a killer snowman out on the loose.
Yeah. And saying like, get all your people inside, get him out of my way. Like, what did I tell you? And then one of the guys goes, what the hell's eating him? And then
the other guy was like, not his girlfriend.
I bet you ain't his girlfriend.
Yeah.
I laughed. But then they're like toting Paul off, and he's again, sputtering like some sort of nonsense. And you gotta always listen to the crazy man who's sitting there saying the bizarre shit. He's the one that's probably seen it. But of course they just
brush it off.
Brushing them off. Yeah. And then they send Joe off to go do something, but then they send Agent Chris, or Deputy Chris, sorry, not Agent, to go check on what in the world happened with Paul.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And he's like, oh, of course
he doesn't want to go. Yeah.
Go to where all the scary stuff happened. Figure it out.
And so he's driving, and that's whenever he gets stopped because freaking Jack Frost is in the middle of the road with the stop sign.
He's directing traffic now.
Yeah, and so he gets off because he's like, what the heck is that? And he goes to check it out. And then he goes to get his shovel from the back of his car. What is it? The trunk. And then when he goes to like, do it, obviously Jack Frost is gone, so he's like, what the heck? So he puts the shovel back in, and when he puts down the trunk, we see that Jack has got it in the vehicle, the driver's seat, literally, and then he starts running over, backing up. Yeah, backs it up over the cop.
I love it. And then I love the way that
the little gunshot going off.
Yeah, and before he runs him over, Jack's head is just like staring at him, and then we get the side view of him like backing up, and his head's looking out the window. It was pretty good. I loved it. And then he drives off.
Dead.
Whoop,
yeah.
whoop.
And then he goes away. Yeah. And so then we're back at the sheriff's house with the wife. And then we have some sirens going off, and we think like, that's
Jack.
It's Jack. But, and as she's doing that, I think she's washing dishes or something, and that pipe burst or something, right?
Yeah. She was getting blankets, and then she noticed that there was water dripping from underneath her cabinet. And so it's like, then we also know he can freeze and unfreeze. Yeah. So we're like, oh, fuck, Jack's getting in the house.
Yeah.
And
it's a red herring.
Opens the thing, and we get a little jump scare with the water just going. Yeah. It was a busted pipe. Yeah. And then, of course, Joe shows up behind her, which scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not like in real life, but I was like, I would have been fucking pissing.
Well, she even is just like, don't ever sneak up on me like that again.
Yeah.
And then he's like, we need to replace these pipes. She's like, oh, we need to replace you.
Yeah. And he just keeps talking.
Yeah.
And talking, even as they're getting in the car, and she's like, please shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get, as they pull off, Miss Jill and Tommy
We're hiding behind a tree the whole time, the pine tree.
planning to break into the sheriff's
Yeah,
house.
I was wondering why. How is this even a good? Like, why would she want to do this?
to have sex.
Fornication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get in,
She gets off on that, I guess.
and then she's like talking like, I'll need a really big boy to look after me kind of thing. And it's like, ooh.
And right before that was when we got that little thing where she was just like, do you want me to just sit around my house and get morbid?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they do,
It's
yeah.
like, that would be the probably pretty normal reaction.
Response. Yeah. So it's funny because after she does a little big boy comment, she starts taking off her little glove all sexy. And then they both go into this montage of like taking all these freaking
So
many layers of clothes, all the coats and jackets and like thermals and then like another layer underneath.
It was amazing.
It's so funny.
They were struggling.
Yes.
There was no, just shoop, get the dress off. It was so,
very
like,
realistic.
At least like
Yeah.
6 layers on top, 2
Because
or
it's
3 layers on
hella
bottom.
cold.
Yeah.
And they're in Colorado.
Yes, I believe
Which
so.
we learn later because they say something about Denver. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, that makes sense. They're up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And so we have them just like, she says, if you want me, I want a bottle of wine and a log fire.
Yeah, big
right?
log fire.
Come and find me whenever you're ready.
And he was like, if I was any more ready, I'd explode.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking like, damn, the way they're just in this house, like not their house, the sheriff could come at any
they're
moment.
really making themselves comfortable
They
because then
are.
she's going and blow drying her hair.
While he's getting, it's not even wine. He got like some bubbly like
It was
champagne or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely popped
Mhm.
and was carbonated in some way. And then the way that whenever he took a big old sip of it
Mm-hmm.
and then like spit it back out immediately, he was like, this needs ice.
Like
And I
all
was
over their floor.
It's not going to be that bad, even if, unless it was hot,
Yeah.
in which case, but I guarantee you it wasn't hot. Not with that
know.
weather. But then whenever he opens the
I thought Jack
freezer,
Frost was in there.
I thought Jack Frost was in the freezer as well.
Yeah.
And because there was
That's
that
what
little carrot.
That's what they made it seem like.
Yeah. And
And
so
also,
then
whose freezer is just like that?
I
That's how you
know.
get ice? Is that a back in the day type of thing?
I guess I put not going to question the giant ice bucket like
That's
that is
just-
the freezer.
Yeah, I didn't understand. He was just
you couldn't
picking
put
at it.
anything in
But it
there.
also looked like just like frost, like frostbite stuff,
Yeah.
like sleet. And
But,
then
like,
when he
the most.
and when he did that, he all of a sudden had like these perfect cubes of ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really thought that they were going to ingest Jack Frost and
I
then
thought
Jack
so
was going to
too.
bust out of him.
That's what I
That
thought.
would have been pretty
I
fun.
was like, oh, he's gonna drink some of him or something.
Mm-hmm.
And which does kind of come back later. And then they, I'm just like, she's doing that thing with the blow dryer. He gets like distracted because someone throws like a snowball or something at the window, and he's thinking that it's the sheriff, and he's trying to be like, hey, I'm not a burglar, it's just me.
Just me.
And that's whenever
Tommy.
he's like, finally, it takes a while. It's building up a lot of like, what's the word, tension.
Yeah, he's creeping around.
Mhm.
He then decides to open the door on his knees
Yeah.
and then go, psst, who's out there?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Oh, after we get this like silly scene of him trying to get like something sharp, and it goes through like 3 different things.
Yeah, he's got like a whisk and
Mhm.
stuff. And then he finally gets, what was that, like a
It's like-
thermometer?
I don't even know what it was.
It
but
looked
was,
like a meat
yeah.
thermometer.
And so then he finally opens the door on the way he's on his feet, and he's just like, who's out there? And then we get a punch.
Yeah.
It's a whole thwump.
Thump.
And then he's like, well, it ain't Frosty.
It ain't fucking Frosty.
Yeah.
And then he just like, oh. And so he starts stabbing him with that meat thermometer
And
thing.
he's like, oh, to the left, to the right. Oh,
yeah,
ow,
and
ow.
he's just fucking with him, and
Yeah.
he's like, "What are you?" And he goes, "World's most pissed off snow cone."
Yeah. And then he just like pushes him back. And that's whenever he is able to create freaking icicles and
yeah.
just shoots it. And he like gets Tommy, and then he gets another one loaded, and he shoots it, and it goes right through his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
so
whenever he pulls it back out,
it's like the brain is just like
yeah,
throbbing.
you can
on
see the brain,
wall.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah. The practical effects were pretty, like in those regards, were pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Sometimes it's not,
Yeah,
but yeah,
but at the moments where we've mentioned it,
it's
are
good. Yeah.
But then fucking Jill
is
sees a bath that has been ran for her,
Mhm.
and she was like, "Oh, thank you," blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, Tommy.
and she says something, and then he nods his head. Which I was like, how did he nod his head?
Mm-hmm. Because his head was just like bobbing on the wall, kind of thing.
Oh, it looked like he
Mhm.
definitely nodded
Mm.
even after being dead.
Mm-hmm.
But then she starts undressing, and so, but of course we can tell that she's about to bathe inside Frosty
Yeah, literally.
or inside Jack.
Yeah, and so she gets in the water, and there's it's like obviously close. They're trying to be sexy, so there's a close up of her like bathing herself. It's
Very
a little
sensual.
soapy. Yeah, and then we just see like a little carrot by her leg.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Not now, Tommy." And then all of a sudden, it starts turning into snow.
because she's like, "Ew, why are you putting cold water in here?"
Yeah. And it turns into snow, and Frosty Jack comes alive, and it's all the snow around her, and she's screaming, and then all of a sudden it starts coming together as his body, and it's like
lifting her up. It's like he's like holding her upright.
Yeah, and like
but her
she's
arms
like
are stuck in him.
Well, one of them is out behind the curtain in the window thing, waving, and someone just waves
back. That was hilarious.
And essentially, like
she just gets squished to
she's
death.
just because he's like banging her head against the shower, and then finally she just falls off, and then he makes that pun, and he's like, looks like Christmas came early this year.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, must remember to send flowers.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
And so then at that point it cuts to, well, she's dead, and then she's got blood coming out of her mouth and her head, and then we cuts to the sheriff talking to what's his face, Agent Manners. Yeah.
Manners is basically saying like, looks like my cavalry can't get here tonight because of the storm.
Yeah.
They're going to have to they can't get the choppers off the ground. So they're going to have to come in by land.
And they're laughing at him.
They're like, you can't do that. We're in blah, blah, blah city, like Snowmageddon or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
It's Snowmonton.
Snowmonton.
Yeah.
And it's 20 miles uphill in every direction or something. Like you can't even get a snowplow through here. If it was anything like last week. If they're on the
mountain, how is it 20 miles in each? Are they on the top of a mountain?
I guess so.
20 miles in each direction. That makes sense. I don't know. And so, that's whenever they're just kind of giving him some trouble. Not trouble, but like they're badgering him, especially Marla. And then that's whenever
the guy, one of them's like, well, he can't get out.
Agent Stone.
And he was like, well, nothing gets in, nothing gets out.
And then Agent Stone is like, see, this is why the company should have taken care of this. We should have had them do this.
I was like,
not a mercenary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, they're still not letting the sheriff in on it. Mm-hmm. And he's basically saying, like, hey, I need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's not your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't need to know. And it's like, yes, he does.
Yeah.
He should probably be in on this, like, even maybe the slightest bit.
From the get-go.
Yeah.
And so then we have a little honk go outside because Marla is like, oh, Chris is back. And we see the lights, the lights, police lights going around. They go outside and they're trying to find him, but he's not there. And he's like, well, if he was here, he's soaking wet because the car is wet on the inside, obviously, from Frosty.
And there's like, it looks like smushed snow, not really a puddle.
Mm-hmm.
And while all that is happening, Manners is looking in the back of his trunk, and he's got like this whole armory back there, which was so confusing why he asked Sam what weapons do you have? Yeah. And I was like, bro, you've got a whole fucking like
arsenary.
Yeah.
That's like arsenary, that's not a word. Arsenal. There we go, of weapons. And they gave very like, that scene in Men in Black when they have all those guns, like those type of guns, like alien killing type of guns.
Very bizarre looking.
Mm-hmm.
Shit shoots lasers and stuff.
Yeah. And so, and even at that point, I think that's whenever the Agent Stone was saying like conventional weapons can't hurt him or something like that.
Yeah.
And
that's not going to work against him.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But then Marla picks up the scarf and she was like, isn't this Paul's scarf?
Yeah.
And then he goes up
Don't
behind
do
her.
that. And she's like, it's just a scarf. And then she obviously runs off and screaming in terror whenever Jack Frost comes up from behind her.
Then Manners is shooting at Frost.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically saying like, and he was like, I thought you said it couldn't hurt him. But because he definitely did get a little bit hit,
God.
But then he melted and then he came back up and he said,
oh my God, Mother of God. Right?
Oh, he said, oh, I have made in America.
No, right before that one, I love how he was like, no, the sheriff was like, Mother of God. And then Jack Frost was like, nah, that bitch couldn't make it.
Oh, that
Did you
part,
catch that one? Yeah, I thought it was hilarious.
That part. Oh, also, the whole time, my subtitles were like slightly ahead.
Oh, okay.
And of course, we all know I can't hear if I can't read it.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a few things that I probably definitely missed.
It's a thing.
Anyways, but yes, then he comes back though, says made in America. And then they run inside. They're running from him. And basically the sheriff's like, like, what's going on?
And
Please tell me, because we need to know. And then they're like, we're fighting Jack Frost.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, Jack Frost is dead. And he said, no, Jack Frost changed.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Agent Stone. He's so stoic. And that's whenever they're talking about it, that you can only kill him in like snow form. He can't die when he's like just water, apparently. Yes. In ice form.
Only hurt him when he's frozen.
Yes. And so that's whenever he ends up coming inside, right? And then he starts using the blow dryer on him. Mm-hmm. And it only works.
They are all running.
And it only works for a little bit because then
the cord's not long enough.
Yeah, and it unplugs, and Jack Frost is like, oh. He makes some sort of noise. I don't remember. Yeah. But that's whenever he starts running off. He ends up joining the other people, and they're in where the jail cells are.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's like the little side room that has all of the holding cells, and the fucking Stone's yelling, "Don't hurt him! Don't hurt him!" And it's like, "Fuck you, Stone!"
Because he's telling Agent Manners like, your job wasn't to destroy; it's just to like apprehend, to collect
and maintain, or like
he said, not defy orders. Yeah.
And then obviously the next step is to blow the whole place, because that was their next idea. They were just like, well, we have to blow the place. Do you have any like aerosol canisters and things like that?
Yeah.
And so they get like all this fucking roach spray and stuff, and they start like just bombing the place basically.
And they're like choking themselves out, and they're at the other end, and they're trying to get through it. But there's this window that has this fucking padlock on it.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I guess it's a jail cell thing going on.
Yeah, but also if someone was really that determined to get out,
break through the glass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then, of course, the lock, the key,
is on the other end where the door was, where they just had to come from, and it's like a long corridor.
And this was the most frustrating scene because motherfucker Sam walks over there, and
because of that water, he's just like so like hesitant to like grab those keys. Yeah,
but it was like, bro, just grab the fucking keys.
Literally, and then he fucking drops them.
He drops them, and then he's like still hesitating to like touch the water, and it's like, just get the fucking keys. You're gonna have to touch it regardless. There's no way you can get those keys out of that puddle of water without doing something, or kick them. Kick them out of the fucking way.
I love it. Kick them.
I was waiting for the arm to like grab his foot. Yeah. And so whenever it did, I was like, good, nice.
Good payoff. Yeah, because he grabs them. Certainly does.
And as he turns to run, he gets grabbed. And then fucking Paul, I was
comes out of nowhere again. He's in the jail cell because that's where they had put him earlier.
Why was Paul not talking the whole time?
He would have died if he wouldn't have mentioned anything earlier.
And well, I mean, if Paul would have spoke up earlier, they probably would have been like, oh yeah, the keys. And then like none of that would have happened.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it's true. A lot of things could have happened, but fucking Paul.
Fucking Paul.
And so he's fumbling the keys to try to get him out of the jail cell. Finally, he gets him out. They run all the way to the inn, and then they finally get the window open. This whole time, like Frost,
they're the dumbest fucking
Jack
group
Frost
to ever
is going
exist.
so slow, like And so they're trying to get everybody out. Paul gets stuck in the window. Of course, they push him out, and then just as the sheriff is coming out, they end up locking it. And Jack Frost comes up to the window. And then they basically just blow him up.
They run away and they shoot the place, and it goes, and we get an oh shit as they blow the place, that was pretty funny. Also, I'm sorry, none of those roach cans and stuff would have gone as long as they were.
Oh yeah,
the whole time we were having a hissing of aerosol cans going off, and it's like, those would have been depleted in this long before the 5 minutes, like. But that's okay. It's a movie. But as the place blows and stuff, they're like, we did it. We're safe. But then we see little snow clusters.
Yeah. This bitch ain't dead. And he comes back to life.
We get maybe one of my favorite lines of the whole movie.
He's like, look,
Ma, I'm a Picasso.
Yeah. And he's like so all sideways. Yeah. And they look at him sideways, like, and they're just like, run. So they end up running away, and he's like, I'll be back when I pull myself together.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It was really funny. And they're like locking themselves in that convention center, town hall.
But then Marla and Joe get locked out, and they're like, your place or mine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, as right before they got locked out, there was some rando dude who's just casually just walks out. Did you notice him?
No, I didn't even notice.
It was like he was holding something in his hands and just looking at it. And then he just like, like just walks off screen, not paying any mind to the absolute mass panic happening around him.
No, I didn't even see that.
But Marla and Joe, they run off to go to, I believe, Marla's place. And then everyone's sitting there inside screaming at fucking Manners and Stone again.
That's right.
They're like,
yeah.
why should we trust you? And it was like, well, what the fuck are you gonna do?
Yeah, they're like, and then even Tim, the sheriff, is like the voice of reason, kind of, because he's like, these people can help us, you know.
Just don't question the fucking people in charge. Come on.
And at that point, then we have Tim taking what's his face, the Agent Stone, to the side, and he's like, I need you to tell me exactly what's going on here. And then he's like, doesn't want to tell him. And then he like shoots around at his feet, and then that's whenever,
because he says, not even the Secretary of Defense knows what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a problem.
Yeah, and
that
then
seems wrong.
right, and then the Agent Stone is just like, aren't you going to do something about this, to Agent Manners? And he's like, you mean I can't teach him to shoot better?
Yeah, because the whole movie they picked on how bad
of a shot
he is. And basically Stone is explaining that it was meant to be some next level genetic research and acid that helps resurrect in the event of like a global Holocaust kind of thing. And basically what this means, because of the acid melting that and then it coming on and taking on Jack's personalities,
that the soul exists.
The soul is a chemical.
Yep.
And so the Frost manifestation is the only proof he has of this. Yeah. And he's like, this is a huge discovery. We can't destroy it. It's basically what he's going on. And he was like, okay, but I don't care. He came back for me. And I was like, Sheriff, I'm sure he didn't come back solely for you. I think it was more of a just the situation, but okay.
Yeah.
We'll roll with it.
And so they end up preparing to like basically fight Jack Frost, who's about to come back. And so they go outside, and then they're in the front. They're basically like a battlefront waiting for him to come.
Yeah, because they were saying we have to get him to some sort of heat or something.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And because he was like, they were saying, how in the world can we even kill this guy? And Stone says, well, sustained heat could potentially agitate the molecules and destroy him. But again, potentially. There's no guarantee.
Yeah.
But they get outside. One of them says Jack was never one to miss a party. And I was like, what?
Yeah, as if they knew him. Yeah, I don't know.
I was like, that's a weird line.
Yeah, and so
all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
That does. And then that's a good reference.
Missed
and
opportunity.
then we end up having them going outside. They're preparing for him to come, and then that's whenever Sheriff Tim is like wants to share a story, and then Agent Manners is like, "Wait, shh."
Do you hear that? Do you feel that? Or something? And of course, the whole ground is like
it's like rumbling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a train coming.
I thought an earthquake. I was like, something is going
down.
Thought
what had happened was Jack Frost like was able to like manage to make like so many little like a snowman army.
That would be dope. Yeah, because someone said like a stampede or something.
Yeah, a stampede
that would
or
have
something.
been pretty cool.
But it ends up just being this big ass snowball that's just rolling in, which happens to be him, right?
Yeah. He like snowballs in, gets through the door, and then he's like, hey, basically. And they said, hey, you left a split, some sort of bowling term. I don't know.
7-1 split.
Yeah. And so then they turn around and he's like kind of going back towards them, but then
they pull out the blow dryers. Yeah.
They're a little
blow drying
line
him.
Of hair dryers. So funny.
And they end up using these blow dryers somehow miraculously
to force him
all the way towards the furnace.
Yep. I guess they got a real long extension cord.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And it's plugged into
all of them.
All of them are being plugged into
like all 6.
Yep. And one surge protector.
And
this is not safe.
No, not at all. It's a fire hazard, which I guess would have been good for them.
Yeah.
And so they have basically they corner him all the way until he gets into close enough to the furnace to where they like get him into the furnace, like actually in it.
Again, very Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. Oh, it is, isn't it? And they end up getting him in there, and he's like, obviously he's dying. Fine.
They're like,
quote unquote. And they're celebrating, and they're like, we iced him, which I thought was a funny choice of words. And so
you burnt him.
Yeah.
But they all just like leave.
Like nothing. And then they like go and tell the little kid, because the little boy, Ryan, he's like, is it over? And he's like, yep, he's gone. Poof, like magic.
You've got your dad has the fastest blow dryer in the South.
Yeah.
Or something. But of course, Manners and Stone stayed behind to kind of talk about, I guess, what happened. And we're getting close up shots of the steam. And so it's
then the water trickling. And then it's like, oh my God, he's not dead.
This is a time when we turn our eyes to the heavens, and they turn their head and they go and say, oh shit.
Yeah. Because
then Frost is back.
He's back, and he pops up right behind Agent Manners, and then Agent Manners turns around, and he's just like, Jack Frost says, blow me.
Blow me. Because he's got the hairdryer ready, but Jack has the cord.
And then
And
he
it's
ends
unplugged.
up protracting. No, not retracting is when they go up.
Retracting.
And then, but his teeth come out.
Extending.
And it's very sharp teeth. And he ends up like biting
his face.
And he's like,
Manner's face.
frostbite.
It was fucking awesome.
Mhm.
I loved it. And the way that whenever his head went back, and there was such a small hinge at the back.
Yeah.
Of just the little bit of snow. It looked so comical, almost like a Cookie Monster.
It did.
Or something.
I can see that.
I loved
like
it.
a puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he ends up Jack Agent what's his
Bites
name?
his face.
I have been this whole
Manners.
time I've been having a hard time with his name. Yeah, Agent Manners is dead.
And he says, I need floss.
Yeah, and he comes after Agent Stone, and Agent Stone is just like, wait, I can help you. Like, I need to know more about you. He's like, how does it feel like since you're immortal now?
To be like, what is it like to, face death?
Oh, and
then
he's like telling
overcome
him, don't kill me because I can help you. I can bring you back. And
Yeah.
he's like, I'm having fucking fun as a snowman.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great time.
Yeah.
I have no issues getting into people's places, and I'm apparently indestructible.
Yeah. And then we have him just like coming up on Agent Stone, and then it cuts away because we cut to all the families outside.
Yeah, we cut to Sam, Sheriff Sam, putting Ryan in the car.
That's right.
And he's basically saying like, wait here. And I was like, oh, good. Leave your kid alone in the car. But then Stone wobbles out looking clearly
Not
something's
right.
not
Yeah.
okay. And this part was pretty
so funny.
It was gross
because
and
then
funny.
He's walking by, and you can tell that like Jack Frost is inside his body, kind of like possessing him, trying to like, get away. But at a certain point, he's just like, "Fuck it," and it just starts getting puked out. Like,
the way that the neck extended first, almost like a frog or one of those little birdies that got one of those neck pouches. And what are those? It's frogs, right? That like can breathe and extend their neck hole out like that. Yeah, it looked like that. And then he just pukes. It looked like shaving
That's
cream.
how they mate. That's their mating call. Yeah.
That was not. That's my mating call.
That's yours. And so
Andrew.
he ends up, Jack Frost ends up like puked out and then goes into his full form.
I loved it. And then he comes up and he says, "Don't eat yellow snow."
Yeah.
Which was like, he didn't pee though.
No, we have Sheriff Tim going into the car with Ryan, but then Jack Frost is able to puddle his flood into the vehicle.
Yeah. And the whole time I'm like, just get out of the
that's
fucking
what I was
car.
thinking too, because they're just staying in there.
He's
Like
like,
obviously he's coming in.
Don't let the water touch you. Get out of the fucking car.
Yeah.
He's trying to hotwire the car as the water's pulling in.
Yeah.
And then of course, by the time that he is actually trying to get Ryan out of the car, Jack is already
in there,
formed in the back seat. And he's like, I think your engine's flooded. I loved it. That one was funny.
And at that point, that's when we have Ryan and him running out of the car. But before Ryan can throw his oats onto Frosty, and we see that it's burning him.
It's like,
literally.
He's like, what did you put in those oats? And he was like, I didn't want you to get cold, so I put antifreeze.
Oh my God, it's so hilarious. And so that's when he's like, and then he just like hugs him and he's like, oh my God, yes, yay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then he calls Paul and he's like, in 5 minutes, I need you to meet back here.
Well, Paul shows up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because Jack gets out of the car and then Paul shows up and just yeets him into the air. And as he's flying off, I can see your house from here.
That's right. He pulls up in the truck.
But yes, he was saying in 5 minutes, I need you to be back with
antifreeze.
A fuck ton of antifreeze. Yeah.
And so Sheriff ends up going inside the house.
And Frosty says, and then there was one.
Yeah.
And
Jack Frost obviously goes
This is where he gets
inside.
the snowman and snowwoman joke again. And this, he says, hey, Frost, do you know what makes a difference between a snowman and a snowwoman? But this time he said no balls.
No balls.
And not snowballs.
Because he heard it wrong.
Yeah.
That would make it even funnier.
Yeah.
He told it wrong. And so that's whenever we have him inside the house because he's trying to lure Frosty inside. The way we keep calling him Frosty. And that's whenever he
closes the door and like acts like that's going to do something at
Obviously
first, which is like,
yeah.
bro, we know that doesn't work. And then he starts just pulling like children's pictures off the wall and shoving them.
Yeah.
Like this construction
and then, like,
paper
a
is really going to
scarf
stop
and stuff.
them.
Yeah. All these random things. And so at that point, he's going through the house, right? And then,
I guess it was like a motel
or that's what it was.
or something
yeah.
because there was a bunch of, or like an apartment building. Because he's like knocking on different doors. We hear random things. Yeah. One of them's a goat. Yeah. He like knocks on the door and a goat's like, "Mah."
And then he ends up getting to the end of the hall to where we see like, he sees lights coming out from the door. and it sounds like someone's talking in there, right?
Yeah.
Or it's a TV or something's going on. And as soon as he like opens the door, then we have Jack Frost coming up from behind him.
Yeah. He goes back to the front, like to the top of where the stairwell is, and is basically saying,
and then
where is he? But that's when Frost pops
it's
up.
like, them stairs were killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's when Frost basically like chases him into that room at the end of the hallway.
That's right.
And he gets in, he like locks the door in there, and then Frost is like, is it cold in here or is it just me?
Yeah.
And then
we have a face off.
we do.
Mm-hmm.
Frost has got Sam cornered.
He does.
And he creates an icicle.
Like
yet
from the
again.
middle.
Yeah.
And it's like he's getting so much closer to the sheriff that it starts impaling the sheriff.
Mm-hmm. And he says, what did he say? He said, looks like Daddy's got right to the heart of the matter. And I was like, but that's not his heart. It was on his right side.
Yeah.
But okay. and
the sheriff starts pretending like he's dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, he is getting stabbed. Like there was definitely blood coming.
There's a lot of it.
And he's buying time though.
And icicles are thick.
Yeah.
It's a lot of.
It looked not pleasant.
And so, and that's whenever we have Paul then pulling up outside of the window that they're right next to or across the room.
We hear his little beep beep.
And he's out there, and that's whenever Tim comes back up. And what does he say? He says something like a one-liner.
That's the cavalry.
Yeah, and he like runs with him, and he pushes them out of the window, and they end up falling into the trunk with all the antifreeze.
Yeah, because Paul is we saw him getting all the jugs of antifreeze and then lining his trunk bed with like a tarp and then pouring it in there. So we've got like a little pool of antifreeze in the back, and they plunges him in there and hurls him through the window. We do see an arm fall out of the truck, and he's sitting there like trying to drown him. And I was like, bro, you probably shouldn't be spending that much time in antifreeze either.
I wouldn't think that'd be good. No,
especially with that open wound on your chest, and the fact that Frost is fighting back.
That's true.
Too. And so like I'm sure,
or if he would have ingested some of it in the struggle.
Exactly, that's what I feel like. Had to have happened. But then Frost
is dead. It seems to have worked.
He has this little heart.
And then we have Ryan picking up the fucking arm. Yeah. And it starts like attacking Ryan, but then they manage to get
He's
it
like,
into...
Dad, you forgot this arm.
Yeah. And they managed to get it into the truck
because the arm like wrapped around his head and was like suffocating him. So they have to like completely plunge Ryan. It was like he was being baptized in antifreeze. So both of them were in it. Yeah. Yeah. And then they just... after the arm went away, they were just sitting there.
And that's it. It literally just chilling.
Get out of the
like
fucking
a pool of
truck.
Water. Yeah.
This is probably not good for you to be in.
And then after that, we have them, I guess they collected all the antifreeze into the jugs that they had poured them from. So they put them into these jugs. And
they're being, I guess, real careful to not have any spill. They were like dripping it off of the tarps and stuff. And while we're getting this like really weird creepy version of Silent Night.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Basically happening. And they're collecting it, and then they're just gonna bury it.
They bury it in like a funeral. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have like all the backup that was supposed to come in. They're just like, what should we tell them? They're like, tell them it's too late. Yeah.
And the antifreeze that they used, the label said anti-frost, and it had like a snowman on it. So that was kind of cute.
Punny.
But then of course, as they're burying it and putting the dirt on it, we see radioactive green.
Yeah.
So and it's starting to bubble. So
it's gonna come back, and there's a sequel. So
there is a sequel,
and that's the end.
That is the end
of Jack Frost.
Fun fact: writer/director Michael Cooney did the voice of the man who tells the story of Jack Frost in the opening credits.
Uncle Henry.
Uncle Henry. Yep. And then
he's had money.
This is goofs. Icicles on the church wobble as if made of rubber just before Jack Frost arrives. They looked like they were made of felt. I thought it was just fake icicles hanging from the... Maybe I'm thinking of other icicles.
Oh, wow.
But I was like, those weren't even close to that. But anyways, so that's 1997's Jack Frost. Classic.
A classic.
I'm sad. I guess this is what the next Jack Frost looks like, or something. As I keep I kept seeing.
Oh, like
this.
in the second one. Yeah, that's what I saw too. I thought at some point maybe he would look like that.
He would turn into it, but he didn't. And I was like, oh.
I kind of want to see that one.
Yeah, me too.
And so let's
How many,
dip into the ratings.
BooBaes?
I'm gonna give it a 4.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 4.
It's a good time.
I liked it.
It was.
Just the season to be in the season to give 4s and 5s. It was pretty good.
This is something I would
It's funny.
tell
it's
people
just
to
comical.
watch. It's
Campy.
a good time. It was a 1 hour and 30
I'll
minutes.
never
like
watch
exactly.
it again.
No,
But
but you'll watch the sequel.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I would maybe.
No, I mean, I might watch it again. I don't know.
If it was on at a holiday party, I
yeah.
probably would stop talking to people just so I could watch it. But that's also because I don't want to talk to people.
It's true. That happens.
So I'll use it as my distraction so I don't have to like
I'm
actually
watching the
hold small
movie.
talk.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, sorry, this is actually my favorite Christmas movie of all time. Jack Frost.
Jack Frost, 1997.
Not 98.
And I think that I give it a 4 because it was just it made me laugh. I enjoyed it. Honestly,
it was a
really
good time.
enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
honestly thought it was funny and it was campy and
It was. And it actually had some pretty decent murders.
yeah,
Like-
decent murders and practical effects.
Sally's murder, top tier.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
would love to see
That
it
was-
done in like an art house version.
Oh,
now.
yeah,
that
that
would
was-
be fucking awesome.
Sally's was pretty good.
Ari
and
Aster,
or
get on
imagine
this.
the bathtub scene, but like nowadays, like that could be
Yeah.
even more brutal, like crazy.
Every horror movie's got to, we got to have a good bathtub scene. We got Freddy
Shower scene.
Krueger.
Like a psycho moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, what's that one? The Shining.
Or like, yeah, there's another one too. Not the Freddy
We just
Krueger
got,
one.
you got to be in a bathroom at
But,
some point
yes.
with
And
naked
then-
ladies.
or like where like the Grudge, kind of stuff like that. Or there's been so
so
many
good.
of these where we've seen where there's like the one where the thing was coming out of the corner of the shower curtain. I forget which one that was. Was it the Gaia one or
What?
no?
Huh?
Didn't we watch No, I watched a movie called Gaia once. It's
Okay.
called Gaia. But
I was like, we have not
no.
watched that.
or was it the 0 megahertz?
0.0
0.0
megahertz.
megahertz. No, there's
Had something in a shower. I don't think that one had a shower
no.
scene.
But anyways, I digress.
Anyways.
What do you give your boot rating?
Yeah, I feel like I liked this one quite a bit, but not as much as I enjoyed Thanksgiving, probably.
You think you gave Thanksgiving a 5, right?
Yeah, we both did.
Mhm.
And I think I'll probably give this one a 4 as well. It was a solid good time.
Yeah.
Solid good time. I probably would watch it again. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, if not like next year,
Just
probably
for
like 4
funsies.
years down the
Yeah,
line. Just as
exactly.
a little refresher.
I'll rewatch it.
Once I've
Yeah.
forgotten everything that happens.
Mhm.
And I would tell people to watch this film. I think it's a good time.
That's funny.
I will say
So you're here to
some
hear
of
from
the
us.
one-liners were not as good as like Thanksgiving. I didn't think they were quite as well placed.
Well, I think we know that Thanksgiving is your favorite movie of all year.
It really is.
Yeah.
That was it's hilarious.
But this one had some good ones, and
did.
it was a
mine, a
little
Picasso.
longer. It was really an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah. It was an hour and 30 minutes.
just right on the dot.
Right on dot.
So, pretty digestible.
Yeah. Easy to watch.
Put
it
it
was a
on
good
for
time.
the family Christmas holiday party.
Yes. I think it'll get the people talking. Yeah.
It's good.
Exactly. This was a suggestion
Yep.
by our lovely,
Editor.
wonderful, awesome editor, Mason. So,
Shout out to Mason.
yeah, he's the best. He listens to all of these, not because he has to, because he wants to. Yes.
And speaking of Mason and where we're in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios.
That's right.
So
They always take great care of us. And they, if you want to listen to us or any of the other wonderful podcasts on this network, you can do so at
roadmedianetwork.com,
that's right, or on a slew of podcasting platforms, biggest two being,
Spotify,
and also Apple Podcasts. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
because that is the only way we will ever get ahead in this world. And if you want to let us know your favorite cheesy horror flick for the
yes.
holidays, because we've got a few other ones up
Lined
our
up,
sleeves
yeah.
that we're debating against. And if you want to let us know your favorites or your favorite, like, that you would consider a serious holiday movie, I would also love to watch something like that that's really well
It doesn't
done.
have to be
campy,
cheesy.
Yeah. You can reach out to us
We've
on...
already done Krampus.
That's true. I liked this better than Krampus. 1000%.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Krampus was just trying to be a little too serious. It had its funny moments.
Yeah.
But this was... I enjoy
It knew what it
movie
was.
that's in on the joke.
It knew what it was. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's very true.
But so if you want to let us know, you can reach out to us on our one social media platform, and that is Instagram at
BooBaes Podcast.
And that is
Oh, it's BOOBAES Podcasts. And that's because we're your BooBaes, not your boobies. Oh my God. I fucked that one up.
We're not your boobies, but we're also not your boob babes.
Yeah, we're just a couple of BooBaes.
That's right.
I haven't messed that one up in a long time.
That was perfect. So on that note, until we decide what we're doing next, we've got a few that we're sitting on. So stay tuned for the surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time.
Bye, baes.
Bye, baes. Oh, play it.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast. Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach,
And I'm Mike.
and we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't right, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.